This is the Epoch Times.
Welcome to Epoch Audio, showcasing the best journalism covering news, culture, and society, addressing issues overlooked or avoided by other media. For the text version of this and more articles providing truth, tradition, and hope, please go to theepochtimes.com.
There are three categories of climate experts, genuine ones shrinking. Climate scientist. By Naveen Anthropoli. Climate scientist Judith Curry warned that genuine climate experts are a shrinking group, while alarmists are exploding and taking over the mainstream narrative on climate change issues. In an October 3rd interview with media personality John Stossel, Ms. Curry said there are three categories of climate experts. One is people who are fluent in reciting IPCC talking points. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate is a United Nations body that assesses science related to climate change. As an example of a Category 1 expert, Ms. Curry cited mechanical engineer Bill Nye, who back in 2019 said, "The planet's on fire." People like Mr. Nye can talk about this stuff, but he doesn't have really any real understanding. Then the second class is people who actually have some understanding, who can read the full UN climate report, the full one, and actually understand it. And then there's the third class, people who are genuine experts, who can critically evaluate all that. And unfortunately, that third category is shrinking proportionally because the rest of the climate field is exploding. You have a preponderance of this Category 1 people like Bill Nye who are judged to be experts, who are talking about all this. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, climate scientists used to be more skeptical about the mainstream narrative of climate change as they had very rigorous education in fields like geophysical fluid dynamics and climate dynamics. She said, as such, they were capable of understanding the circulation patterns and what was going on with the climate. But nowadays, you get your degree in climate studies, and the only thing you know about what is actually causing climate change is how to recite IPCC talking points. There's no understanding there. Climate propaganda and university politics. When asked in the interview why scientists who are aware of the climate change propaganda do not push back, Ms. Curry pointed to reasons like institutional pressure and funding. She said if a person who talks against climate extremism were to work at a university, it's going to be very uncomfortable for them. There's a young geologist who recently left the University of Alabama actually before his tenure decision, saying, "I don't want to play this game." And then people have to retire prematurely, like myself. And then a few have stuck it out and they've been able to manage if they have friends in high places. Ms. Curry retired from the Georgia Institute of Technology in 2017. In a blog post detailing her retirement, she said, "A deciding factor was that I no longer know what to say to students and postdocs regarding how to navigate the craziness in the field of climate science. Research and other professional activities are professionally rewarded only if they are channeled in certain directions approved by a politicized academic establishment. Funding, ease of getting your papers published, getting hired in prestigious positions, appointments to prestigious committees and boards, professional recognition, etc. How young scientists are to navigate all this is beyond me, and it often becomes a battle of scientific integrity versus career suicide." In her October 3rd interview, Ms. Curry pointed out that the only people who speak up against climate extremism are those who are retired and private sector workers. As to why such climate extremism is being pushed, Ms. Curry replied, "Personal politics. They're environmentalists. They want fossil fuels to go away. They're anti-capitalists, anti-democratic, the whole thing. The whole university disease." Universities are very liberal places for the most part, and there's a few bastions of sanity. It's not every university, but if you're a state university in a blue state, of course you're going to be doing that, she said, referring to the pressure to push climate alarmist research. She said the reason why such extremism is being pushed has to do with university funding. If universities want big donations for some big climate institute, a new building, a new whatever, they want to toe this party line if all their donors are of that climate extremism persuasion. Scientists push back against climate extremism. Many scientists are taking a stance against climate alarmism. In August, the Global Climate Intelligence Group, CLINTEL, released its Global Climate Declaration, signed by over 1,600 scientists and professionals, stating that there is no climate emergency. Signatories included 321 experts from the United States. The coalition pointed out that Earth's climate has varied as long as it has existed, with the planet experiencing several cold and warm phases. The Little Ice Age only ended as recently as 1850. The declaration said, "Therefore, it is no surprise that we are now experiencing a period of warming. Climate science has degenerated into a discussion based on beliefs, not on sound, self-critical science." In an interview with the Epoch Times last year, Patrick Moore, one of the founders of Greenpeace, who left the organization in 1986, slammed the climate emergency narrative being propagated by mainstream media. He said, "IPCC is not a science organization. Instead, it's a political organization composed of the World Meteorological Organization and the United Nations Environment Program. The IPCC hires scientists to provide them with information that supports the climate emergency narrative." He said their campaigns against fossil fuels, nuclear energy, CO2, plastic, etc., are misguided and designed to make people think the world will come to an end unless we cripple our civilization and destroy our economy. They are now a negative influence on the future of both the environment and human civilization. In the Epoch Times publication, How the Spectre of Communism is Ruling Our World, the authors talk about the politicization of environmentalism and how leftists drive the climate narrative toward advocating for authoritarianism. Quote, "Environmental science is a complex field of study, with research that remains far from conclusive findings on subjects such as climate change. Yet, under the influence of left-wing ideology, many green activists and organizations have simplified and turned environmental protection into a highly politicized struggle, often employing extreme methods and radical narratives, sometimes to the point of religious fervor. Rather than following the ancient teachings of moderation and conservation, radical leftist environmentalists eschew morality and tradition in their crusade against everything they deem enemy of environmentalism, from private business to procreation. Mixed with other radical movements, the green cause has come to be defined by misleading propaganda and authoritarian political measures, turning environmentalism into a kind of communism light." Unquote. Thanks for listening to Epoch Audio. That was There Are Three Categories of Climate Experts, Genuine Ones Shrinking, Climate Scientist. Written by Naveen Anthrapouli. Read for you by Chris Rod.
For more Epoch Times articles in text, please visit theepochtimes.com.
This is the Epoch Times.